Hello everybody, welcome to my video class. I am Sambasivaravu, Assistant Professor, SR and Business Arts and Science College, Khammam, Telangana State. Today our topic is Real Number System Part 2. In my previous video, Real Number System Part 1, I have gone through what is number system and how the number system is developed and what are the different sets of numbers, and also I discussed the absolute value function and its properties. In this video I am going to discuss what is the bounded set, the boundedness of a set, and what is supremum and infimum, and also I am going to discuss what is neighborhood of a set. Upper bound of a set. First of all, let us go through what is upper bound of a set. Suppose S is a non-empty set. Suppose S is a non-empty set. If there exists a real number m such that S less than or equal to m for all S belongs to S, then m is called upper bound of S. So, and in this case, the set S is said to be bounded above. If there is upper bound, if for the set upper bound exists, then the set is said to be bounded above. So, S is a non-empty set subset of R. If you can find a real number m such that S less than or equal to m for all S belongs to S, that means every element of the set S is smaller than this m. If you can find such real number m, then this m is said to be upper bound of the set, and in this case the set is said to be bounded above. So, what is lower bound? You can define the lower bound similarly. Let S is non-empty subset of R. If you can find a real number small m such that with this property, S greater than or equal to m for all S belongs to S, that means every element of the set is greater than this m. If you can find such real number small m, then the small m is said to be the lower bound of the set, and in this case the set S is bounded below. So, suppose if you can find a real number capital M such that every element of the set is smaller than that real number, then that real number is said to be upper bound and the set is said to be bounded above. And in the similar way, if you can find a real number small m such that every element of the set S is greater than the small m, then this small m is said to be the lower bound of the set, and in this case the set is said to be bounded below. So, what is bounded set? The set S is said to be bounded if it is both bounded above and bounded below. If the set is both bounded above and both bounded below, if the set is bounded above and bounded below, then the set is said to be bounded. What does it mean? The set S is bounded if it is bounded above and bounded below. If it consists upper bound and lower bound, then the set S is said to be bounded. S is not bounded if, then we say that that S is the unbounded set. If S is not bounded, then what we say? We say that it is an unbounded set. If S is bounded, that means there exists two real numbers small m and capital M such that each element of S lies between the small m and capital M. Then set S is said to be bounded. In this case, we can write like this: S is subset of closed interval m, because see this, if these are elements of S, suppose that these are elements of S, here you can find capital M which is upper bound of the set. Here you can find small m which is lower bound of the set. So, what is closed interval m? All the elements lies between small m and capital M, and also including the endpoint small m and capital M. Therefore, all the elements of the set S lies inside small m and capital M. Therefore, we can write S is subset of closed interval mm. See this diagram. For example, you can see in the diagram, this is the set S. This is the supremum. This is an upper bound. All these are upper bounds of this set. Next. See here, this is the set S. All these are lower bounds of set. So, see this. Let us see some examples. For intervals, closed interval AB, open interval AB, semi-open intervals. For all these intervals, the lower bound is A and B is the upper bound. So for all these intervals, A is the lower bound and B is the upper bound. Next. Consider the set of natural numbers n. We know that n is equal to 1, 2, 3, so on. Here, what is the lower bound of n? 1 is the lower bound of n. What is the upper bound of n? There is no upper bound to n because we can't find a real number such that all the elements of n are less than that number, because here it is infinity. Therefore, here lower bound of n is 1. N has no upper bound. Therefore, we can say n is bounded below because there is lower bound, but n is not bounded above. ZQ ZQR are neither bounded below nor bounded above. For example, let us think of Z. So, what is Z? Z is the set of integers. Z is equal to so on -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, so on. So here we can't find lower bound to Z and also we can't find upper bound to Z. So we can't find either lower bound or upper bound to this set. Therefore, this set is neither bounded below nor bounded above. In the similar way, we can't find lower bounds and upper bounds of rational number set Q and real number set R. Therefore, these two are also neither bounded below nor bounded above. See this. See this set, -1 whole power n by n for n belongs to n. So, taking n is equal to 1, 2, 3, so on. Whenever n is equal to 1, this value is equal to -1. If n is equal to, we will get 1 by 2. If n is equal to 3, then we will get -1 whole to the power of 3 by 3. This is equal to -1 by 3. 1 by 4, -1 by 5, so on like this. We can write this set like separating negative real numbers and positive real numbers. We will get like this: -1, -1 by 3, -5, so on, union 1 by 2, 1 by 4, so on. So out of all these numbers are less than all these positive numbers. First of all, keep in mind. So out of all these numbers, -1 is the smallest number, and out of all these positive numbers, 1 by 2 is the greatest number. Therefore, for the total set, -1 is the smallest number, and hence it is lower bound. And 1 by 2 is greater than each member of this set, therefore it is upper bound. Therefore, we have lower bound and upper bound to this set. Therefore, this is bounded below and bounded above. Therefore, the set is bounded. We can say that the set is bounded. For example, if you draw a diagram for these real numbers, you can show like this: 0, 1 by 4, 1 by 2, 1, minus 1 by 5, minus 1 by 3, so on, minus 1. Clearly, we can observe that minus 1 is smaller than each member of the set and 1 by 2 is greater than each member of the set. Therefore, minus 1 is lower bound, 1 by 2 is upper bound. Hence, the set is bounded below and bounded above, and hence the set is bounded. See, minus 1 whole power n into n belongs to n. By taking n is equal to 1, 2, 3, so on like that, we will get like this: minus 1. If n is equal to 1, then we will have minus 1. If n is equal to, then we will have minus 1 whole square into 2. This is equal to 1 into 2. This is equal to 2. If n is equal to 3, we will have minus 1 whole cube into 3. This is equal to minus 1 into 3. This is equal to minus 3. Therefore, finally, for n is equal to 1, 2, 3, so on, we will have minus 1, 2, minus 3, 4, minus 5, 6, like that. So, by separating positive integers and negative integers, we will get minus 1, minus 3, minus 5, so on, union 2, 4, 6, so on. So, all these numbers are smaller than all these numbers. And also, we can observe that you can't find the smallest number in this set and you can't find the largest number in the set. You can see, if these numbers are put on a number line, then you can see 0 here, and positive numbers 2, 4, 6, and negative numbers minus 1, minus 3, minus 5. So, you can't find the smallest number to this set and you can't find the largest number to this set. So, we can't find lower bound and we can't find upper bound. Therefore, there is no lower bound and there is no upper bound to this set. Therefore, the set is neither bounded below nor bounded above, and hence the set is not bounded. So, least upper bound, greatest lower bound. What are least upper bound and greatest lower bound? So, let us see with some example. For example, see this. Consider the open interval AB. Suppose that this is A and this is B. This is the open interval AB. That means all the elements lie between A and B. So this is lower bound of A is the lower bound of this interval or set, and B is the upper bound of this interval. Whenever A is lower bound of this interval, all the elements which are less than A are also lower bounds. In the similar way, whenever B is upper bound and all the elements which are all the real numbers which are greater than B are also upper bounds of this interval. Therefore, whenever a set has a lower bound, then the lower bound is not unique. We can find infinitely many lower bounds like this. All these are lower bounds of this set and all these are upper bounds of this set. So from this what we can understand? If the set has a lower bound, then the lower bound is not unique. We can find infinitely many lower bounds to the set. All the real numbers which are less than the lower bound are also lower bounds of that set. In the similar way, if a set has an upper bound, then the upper bound is not unique. Upper bound is not unique. We can find infinitely many upper bounds. Each real number which is greater than the upper bound is also upper bound of the set. Therefore, from this we can understand that we can find infinitely many lower bounds. All these are lower bounds of this set and all these are upper bounds of this set. So, the smallest of all upper bounds is called least upper bound or supremum. Just keep this in mind. It's very important. we can find many upper bounds to the set which is bounded above. But out of all these upper bounds, the smallest of all these upper bounds is said to be least upper bound or supremum. In the similar way, we can find infinitely many lower bounds for the set which is bounded below. The greatest of all these lower bounds is said to be greatest lower bound. The greatest of all these lower bounds is said to be greatest lower bound or infimum. So, what is supremum and what is infimum? So, least upper bound or supremum means the smallest of all upper bounds, and greatest lower bound and infimum means the biggest of the greatest of all lower bounds. If the set is bounded, then it is both bounded above and both bounded below. Then it must have one supremum and one infimum. See this. Least upper bound, greatest lower bound. Let S be a non-empty set of R. If S is bounded above, then S has infinitely many upper bounds. The smallest of all these upper bounds is called least upper bound or supremum of S. It is denoted by LUBS or supremum S. The smallest of all upper bounds is said to be least upper bound, and it is denoted by supremum S or LUBS. Suppose M is equal to supremum S. You can see in the diagram, if M is equal to supremum S, then S is less than or equal for all S belongs to S, because every element of the set is smaller than supremum, since M is least upper bound of the set. And also we can find if M1 is less than M. For example, you can see in the diagram, if S is the set and M is the supremum, and if M1 is less than M, there is a number which is less than M, M1 is less than M, then we can find at least one element S belongs to S such that M1 less than S less than M. That means if M is supremum of the set, for example, suppose this is the set S. If M is supremum of S and M1 is any number, then we can find at least one element of the set between M1 and M. Because how can we say this? If there is no element of the set S between M1 and M, then M will be the least upper bound of the set. So which is contradiction, since M is the least upper bound of the set. Therefore we can write like that. Now also see this. If M is equal to supremum S and epsilon greater than 0 is a small positive quantity, then we can find at least one member of S, one S belongs to S such that M minus epsilon less than S less than M. For example, you can see in the diagram, if this is the set S from here to here, this is the set S, then M is supremum of S, this is here, and epsilon is any positive real quantity, then M minus epsilon lies here. Therefore, since M is supremum, we can find at least one element small s of the given set S. Because suppose if there are no elements of the set S between M minus epsilon and M, then M minus epsilon will be the upper bound of the set. Since M is the least upper bound of the set, M minus epsilon cannot be the upper bound of the set. Therefore, we can find at least one element of the set S between M minus epsilon and M. In the similar way, we can define greatest lower bound. If S is bounded below, then S has infinitely many lower bounds. For example, you can see here, if S is bounded below, then all these are lower bounds of the set. We can find infinitely many lower bounds. Out of all these lower bounds, the largest of all these lower bounds is called greatest lower bound or infimum. So whenever S is bounded below, we can find infinitely many lower bounds to the set S. Out of all these lower bounds, the largest of all these lower bounds is said to be greatest lower bound, and also this is called infimum of S. The symbol we use the symbol GLBS, that means greatest lower bound S or infimum S, to represent the infimum of the set S. For example, suppose this is the set S, then this is the lower bound. Then the set S has infinitely many lower bounds like this. All these are lower bounds of the set S. Out of all these, the greatest one, which is the greatest of all lower bounds, is said to be the greatest lower bound GLB or infimum of the set. See this. Suppose if M is infimum and M1 is any real number which is greater than M, then we can find at least one S belongs to S such that M1 greater than S greater than M, or M less than S less than M1. So whenever M is lower bound and M1 is a real number which is greater than M, then we can find at least one member of the set S which is lying between M and M1. So this is true, because if this is not true, if you can't find at least, if this is not true, if you can't find at least one number between these two numbers, then M1 will be the lower bound of the set S. Since M is the greatest lower bound of the set, we can't find any lower bound here in this which is greater than M. Therefore, this is a contradiction. Therefore, we must have at least one member of the set S lying between M and M1 like this. In the similar way, if M is supremum of S and epsilon is a small positive quantity, then you can say that, for example, this is the set S and this is small m and this is M plus epsilon. We can find at least one member of the set S between M and M plus epsilon. Therefore, that means we can find at least one member of S such that M less than S less than M plus epsilon. If this is not true, then M plus epsilon will be the upper bound of the set, lower bound of the set. Since M is the greatest lower bound of the set, we can't find lower bound which is greater than M, which is a contradiction. Therefore, we must have a member of S between M and M plus epsilon. For example, let us see some examples. If AB belongs to R and A less than B, then supremum of all the intervals, closed interval AB, open interval AB, semi-open intervals, supremum of all these intervals is B and infimum of all these intervals is A. This is one example. So let us consider the set of natural numbers n. So for the set of natural numbers, we know that n is equal to what? N is equal to 1, 2, 3, so on. For the set of natural numbers, 1 is the infimum, that means greatest lower bound. So what is the supremum of this set? There is no supremum of this set because this is not bounded above. Therefore, supremum n does not exist. Infimum n is equal to 1. Supremum n does not exist. Since ZQR, already we have discussed that ZQR, set of integers, set of rational numbers and set of real numbers, all these three sets are neither bounded below nor bounded above, and hence they are not bounded. Therefore, for all these sets, supremum and infimum does not exist. Next, A is equal to 1 by n. Let us consider this set A is equal to 1 by n, n belongs to n. So the expanded form of A can be written like this. A is equal to 1, 1 by 2, 1 by 3 like this. So taking n is equal to 1, 2, 3, we will get A is equal to 1 by 1, that means 1, 1 by 2, 1 by 3, 1 by 4, so on. So keep all these numbers of A on a number line. We can find like this. We can draw number line like this. This is 0 and this is 1. 1 by 2 is here. 1 by 3 is here. 1 by 4 is here. 1 by 5 will be here. Therefore, we can see that. So 1 is the greatest number of the set. 1 is the greatest number of the set, and hence we can say that 1 is the supremum of the set A is equal to 1, because all the members of the set A are smaller than 1. So out of all these, and also you can observe that 0 is the smallest. So you can observe that all the members of the set A, here A is equal to 1, 1 by 2, 1 by 3, so on. We can observe that all the members of the set A are greater than 0. Therefore, all the members of set A lies between 0 and 1. So for the set, therefore for the set infimum is equal to 0, supremum is equal to 1. Therefore for the set, we can say that all the elements of the set lies between 0 less than or is equal to 1 by n less than or equal to 1. Sorry, see this, 0 less than 1 by n less than or equal to 1 for all n belongs to n. Therefore, all the elements of A lie between 0 and 1. Therefore, 0 is the infimum of the set and 1 is the supremum of the set. And hence the set is bounded. So what is the difference between maximum element and supremum, and what is the difference between minimum element and infimum? So the difference between maximum element and supremum is maximum element of a set should be the member of the set, should belongs to the set itself, but supremum need not belong to the set. In the similar way, minimum element of the set must be the element of the set itself, but infimum need not be the element of the set. For example, see this, see the open interval AB. Open interval AB can be written as, let us see the open interval AB. So AB is equal nothing but set of all elements x such that A less than x less than b. That means all the elements lie between A and B. So, but here in this case, for open interval AB, A does not lie in the open interval AB and also B does not lie in the open interval AB. Therefore, here in this case, what is the minimum element of the set and what is the maximum element of the set? There is no minimum and there is no maximum, because you may think that A is the minimum element of the set and B is the maximum element of the set, but A is not minimum element of the set because A is not member of the set. In the similar way, B is not maximum element of the set because B is not the member of the set. The minimum element and maximum element must be the members of the set. But here in this case, for the open interval AB, so what does it mean for the open interval AB? There is no maximum element and there is no minimum element. Maximum element and minimum element does not exist for open interval AB. But here, in this case, supremum is equal to B and infimum is equal to A. This is the difference between supremum and maximum element and infimum and minimum element. Maximum element and minimum elements should be the members of the set itself, but supremum and infimum need not be the members of the set. So here are some properties of supremum and infimum. If AB are non-empty subsets of R, Then first property, supremum minus A is equal to minus infimum A. Infimum minus A is equal to minus supremum A. Let us see this. Suppose A is equal to 1, 2, 3. Then obviously minus A is equal to minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. From this we can easily see that 3 is the largest number of the set and 1 is the smallest number of the set, and hence supremum A is equal to 3 and infimum A is equal to 1. From this we can see supremum minus A is equal to minus 1 because minus 1 is the largest member of the set, and also infimum minus A is equal to minus 3. Therefore from this we can see that supremum minus A is equal to minus 1. This is equal to minus infimum A, since infimum A is equal to 1. Similarly infimum minus A is equal to minus 3. This is equal to minus supremum A because supremum A is equal to 3. So from this we can easily see that supremum minus A is equal to minus infimum A. Infimum minus A is equal to minus supremum A. These are two important properties of supremum and infimum. So let us see another two properties. See here, if A is subset B, suppose that I will draw here. Suppose that A is from here to here. This is A, and from here to here is B. Then clearly we can see here A is subset B. So whenever A is subset B, supremum A less than or is equal to supremum B, and infimum A greater than or equal to infimum B. So here we can easily see that this is supremum A and this is supremum B. Clearly we can see that supremum A is less than supremum B. And what about infimum? This is infimum A and this is infimum B. So from this we can easily see that infimum B is less than or equal to infimum A, or in other words, infimum A is greater than or is equal to infimum B. This is infimum A and this is infimum B. Therefore clearly we can see that infimum A is greater than or equal to infimum B whenever A subset B. So just keep these two properties in mind. Whenever A subset B, supremum A less than or is equal to supremum B, and infimum A greater than or equal to infimum B. For example, whenever A is equal to 1, 2, 3 and B is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, here it is clear that A is subset of B because all the elements of A are the elements of B. Here we can easily see that infimum A is equal to 1 and supremum A is equal to 3, and infimum B is equal to 0 and supremum B is equal to 4. From this we can easily conclude that supremum A is less than or equal to supremum B and infimum A greater than infimum B. By this real line also we can easily understand. So next, another new concept, neighborhood. So suppose A is a real number and epsilon is a positive quantity. Then the open interval A minus epsilon to A plus epsilon is called neighborhood of A. Which neighborhood of A? Especially epsilon neighborhood of A. It is denoted by V epsilon A or N epsilon A. Here A is the center of the neighborhood and epsilon is said to be the length of the neighborhood. Epsilon is said to be the length of the neighborhood. That means actual length of the neighborhood is epsilon plus epsilon to epsilon. So actual epsilon is the radius of the neighborhood, we can say here. I will repeat once again. Suppose A is a real number and epsilon is a small positive quantity. Then the open interval A minus epsilon, A plus epsilon is said to be epsilon neighborhood of A. For example, on this real line you can easily see that here it is A and left epsilon distance left side of A and epsilon distance right side of A. Then this is obviously A minus epsilon, because this is less than A by epsilon, therefore it is A minus epsilon, and this is A plus epsilon. Then the open interval A minus epsilon, A plus epsilon means all the values, all the real numbers which lie between A minus epsilon and A plus epsilon, this open interval is said to be the neighborhood of A, epsilon neighborhood of A. Then epsilon is said to be the radius of the neighborhood, and A is the center of the neighborhood, and total distance epsilon plus epsilon is equal to epsilon, that is the length of the neighborhood. Therefore we can say that V epsilon A is equal to A minus epsilon and A plus epsilon open interval. V epsilon A is equal to A minus epsilon, A plus epsilon open interval. Suppose here we derive a relation. Suppose x belongs to V epsilon A. That means if x is a member of epsilon neighborhood of A. Suppose that means if this is A and this is A minus epsilon and this is A plus epsilon. If x lies in the epsilon neighborhood of A, then we can write x anywhere between A minus epsilon and A plus epsilon. Suppose this is x. Then from this we can write x belongs to A minus epsilon, A plus epsilon. Therefore, A minus epsilon less than x less than A plus epsilon. Since x lies in the open interval A minus epsilon, A plus epsilon, we can easily see that A minus epsilon is less than x less than A plus epsilon. Let us split this. First take A minus epsilon less than x and x less than A plus epsilon. From this we can write A minus x less than epsilon. Shift x to this side and epsilon to this side. From this we can easily see that A minus x less than epsilon, and from this we can write x minus A less than epsilon. From this we can write A minus x less than epsilon, and from this we can write x minus A less than epsilon. A minus x can be written as minus of x minus A. This can be written as minus of x minus A. So minus of x minus A is less than epsilon and x minus A is less than epsilon. Therefore, combining these two statements, we can say plus or minus x minus A is less than epsilon. Therefore, we know that modulus A is equal to plus or minus A under certain conditions. Therefore, plus or minus x minus A can be written as modulus x minus A, this less than epsilon. Therefore, from this we can write, combining these two statements we can write modulus x minus A is less than epsilon. Therefore, see this, whenever x belongs to V epsilon A, that means x is a member of epsilon neighborhood of A, then obviously x satisfies the condition modulus x minus A less than epsilon. So therefore neighborhood can be written like this also. V epsilon A is equal to x belongs to R such that modulus x minus A less than epsilon. Therefore we can write like this, modulus x minus A less than double implies A minus epsilon less than x less than A plus epsilon. Modulus x minus epsilon A less than. So we can write epsilon neighborhood of A like this. Therefore modulus x minus A less than epsilon double implies x belongs to A minus epsilon A plus epsilon. Therefore A minus epsilon less than x less than A plus epsilon. This is very, very important concept. So whenever modulus x minus A less than epsilon, then we can write A minus epsilon less than x less than A plus epsilon. Therefore modulus x minus A less than epsilon double implies A minus epsilon less than x less than A plus epsilon. Therefore Also we can easily see by ray line also we can easily see. Suppose if this is A and this is A minus epsilon and this is A plus epsilon, the radius of the neighborhood is epsilon and this is epsilon. If x lies anywhere in between A minus epsilon and A plus epsilon, suppose if you write x here, then we will have the distance between x and A is, if x lies between A minus epsilon and A plus epsilon, anywhere between these two numbers, then the distance between x and A must be less than epsilon, because total distance is epsilon. Therefore the distance between x and A must be less than epsilon. Therefore the distance between x and A must be less than epsilon, means modulus x minus A is less than epsilon, since modulus x minus A gives the distance between x and A. So another two properties, see this, modulus x minus A less than epsilon for all epsilon greater than 0 implies x is equal to A. So for every epsilon, for example, that means suppose this is x and this is A and this is x, then this distance is epsilon. For every epsilon greater than 0 means if you decrease epsilon, then the distance between these 2 points also decreases. So whenever epsilon decreases, the distance between x and A is also decreases, and hence whenever epsilon tends to 0, then obviously the distance between x minus A also tends to 0. This means x is nearly equal to A. So whenever epsilon greater than 0, x is equal to A. Therefore we can write like this. In the similar way, modulus x less than epsilon for every epsilon greater than 0 means, that means whenever epsilon decreases, x also decreases. So epsilon tends to 0, then obviously since modulus x less than epsilon, we have modulus x also tends to 0. This implies x tends to 0. So whenever epsilon tends to 0, we must have x tends to 0. Therefore modulus x less than epsilon for all epsilon greater than 0, whenever it is given, you can write x is equal to 0. So modulus x minus A less than epsilon for all epsilon greater than 0, whenever you are given like this, we must have from this x is equal to A. Dilated neighborhood of A. It is clear by the word dilated, it is clear that dilated neighborhood of A is nothing but, suppose say this is A and this is A minus epsilon and this is A plus epsilon and radius of the neighborhood is epsilon. This is the A minus epsilon, A plus epsilon open interval. So the open interval A minus epsilon, A plus epsilon is said to be the neighborhood of A. Neighborhood of A. By removing A from the neighborhood of A, we will get dilated neighborhood of A. Dilated neighborhood of A is nothing but excluding A. That means by removing A, the number A, by removing the real number A from the neighborhood of A, we will get a dilated neighborhood of A. So the removing process like this. So when V epsilon A is the neighborhood of A, removing A from the neighborhood of A means V epsilon A minus A. This is equal to, this is said to be dilated neighborhood of A. This is equal to x belongs to R such that 0 less than modulus x minus A less than epsilon. So this can be written like this also. X belongs to R, A is removed from the open interval A minus epsilon, A plus epsilon. That means A is removed from the neighborhood. Therefore x belongs to A minus epsilon, A plus epsilon, but x not equal to A. Therefore this can be written as A minus epsilon A union A plus epsilon open interval. That means deleted neighborhood of A means A minus epsilon. Here it is A and here it is A plus epsilon. A minus epsilon to A plus A, all the numbers between A minus epsilon and all the numbers between A and A plus epsilon. So here A is not included because all the numbers between A minus epsilon A means A minus epsilon A open interval union all the real numbers between A plus epsilon means A plus epsilon open interval. Therefore, this is the neighborhood, deleted neighborhood of A. Once again I am repeating, deleted neighborhood of A means removing the number, real number A from its neighborhood, we will get deleted neighborhood of A. This can be written like this, and this is the definition of deleted neighborhood of A. We can write deleted neighborhood of A like this: A minus epsilon A union A plus epsilon. So this is the concepts we have to keep in mind. All these are very, very important concepts. In this video I discussed very, very important concepts. Out of these, first one is what is bounded set and what is unbounded set. So, and what is bounded above and what is bounded below. And also we have discussed what is supremum and what is infimum, and also the relation between supremum and infimum, and some properties of supremum and infimum. And another important point we discussed in this video is the neighborhood of an element, the neighborhood of an element, and what is the deleted neighborhood of an element, a real number A. So all these are very, very important concepts. So thank you very much.